Very much, Minister. We'll begin our line of questioning today with Dr. Lewis. Dr. Lewis, the floor is yours. You have 6 minutes, please.
Hello, Mr. Minister. Thank you for coming today. And I just want to share some concerns with you that Canadians have brought to our attention about the quote-unquote no new roads policy. I know that you've stated today that you fund roads, but we're more concerned with the funding of new roads. And my question will focus on that reason for you being here, that urgent reason for you being here today. Now, in February, your cabinet colleague, Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault, said this at a conference in Montreal: "Our government has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure." Minister, isn't it your government's goal to stop building new roads so that Canadians will stop driving their cars, thereby reducing their carbon footprint to fight climate change?
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. I appreciate the question. I would like to just correct the record. There is no such policy as you've suggested in the pretense to the question. We do have a number of different programs that actually do fund roads, both in the past and going forward. The kinds of programs would include the National Trade Corridors Fund. It would include the Canada Community Building Fund. It would include the Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund. It would include the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. There's a number of different programs, Parks Canada, to go further. There's a number of different programs where we, in fact, do fund roads. We believe that they make an important contribution to different communities. In urban environments, we have
Minister, I'm talking about new roads, though. I'm specifically talking about new roads.
Certainly a number of those programs do fund new roads.
What you're saying today is at odds with what the Minister of Environment said, and I'm going to go into further detail. He said in clarifying this no new roads policy that the analysis we have done is that the network is perfectly adequate to respond to the needs we have. And thanks to the mix of investment in active and public transit and in territorial planning and densification, we can very well achieve our goals of economic, social, and human development without more enlargement of the road network. Are you saying that he was stating a misinformation or an untruth here, Minister?
Mr. Chair, Minister Guilbeault is appearing before this committee today. Is that correct?
He is indeed.
I'd suggest there's questions about his statements. You may be better placed.
You agree with his statements? You agree with his statement. You're here, and I'm asking you if you agree with his statement.
We certainly invest in public transit and active transportation for a whole host of positive economic and social reasons. We also fund road projects.
Okay. So he stated that there's an analysis. Were you privy to that analysis?
I understand during clarifying remarks he was pointing to comments around a specific project in Quebec, but there's not a decision that has been taken pursuant to any analysis not to fund new roads, as your question has suggested. That is not the case.
Okay. He went on to say that the money that you save from not building new roads would be used to fight climate change. Do you disagree with that?
Again, we have no such policy of not funding new roads. I've listed a number of programs that, in fact, do fund new roads. So it's not that I agree or disagree with the question. I disagree with the pretense of your question.
Okay, so there are a number of people who are spouting that pretense in your party. MP Van Couverden said on X, "Building highways does not fight climate change. The proposed GTA West Highway will have a disastrous impact on the environment, encourage residential sprawl, and increase dependency on cars." Isn't it the goal of the Liberal government that not to fund new roads and instead invest in green projects like building bike lanes?
Investing in green projects, including active transportation, is a good thing. However, to be clear, there are certain road projects that are a priority for our government. When I was first elected, one of my top priorities was to help secure $90 million in federal funding for the twinning of Highway 104. It was the most dangerous stretch of road in Nova Scotia. There are young people I know who I have known my whole life who've been killed in traffic accidents.
So, Minister Fraser, again, you're at odds with another member of your party, Mr. Fraser.
This is an important thing for my community, and I will respectfully not interrupt you during your questions, and I'd ask that you exchange the same professional courtesy.
But, Mr. Fraser, we're very focused on this policy, and you're diverting to larger infrastructure.
There is no such
and I've
policy,
been able to examine you on larger infrastructure.
Such a policy. It's simply incorrect that there is such a policy. So it's impossible to answer questions about something that doesn't exist.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Fraser. And I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm just trying to focus on this very specific concern that Canadians have. Now, your Liberal government is increasing the carbon tax by 23% on April 1st. Isn't that tax revenue supposed to be enough to fund climate change? Why do you need to cut back on funding new roads?
The policy you're referring to doesn't generate new revenue because all of the money is returned to the jurisdiction in which it's collected to go directly to households to leave 8 out of 10 families better off across the country as a result of the rebate that they receive. So there is no revenue from that policy for the government to use for infrastructure.
Well, the parliamentary budget officer differs and says that it is not a revenue neutral policy, but I will continue with the line of questioning. How much time do I have?
You have 50 seconds, Dr. Lewis.
50 seconds. Another question is, so why do you need more money from this new road policy in order to fight climate change if you have the 23% increase on the carbon tax? And we know that it's not revenue neutral. People are not getting back as much as they're paying out. So it's easy to conclude that your Liberal government is increasing the carbon tax by 23% on Canadians who cannot afford food, who are going to food banks, and now this same government wants them to give up their cars. Isn't that a fact, Mr. Fraser?
No, the question contained a number of points that were not based in fact. For example, there is no such policies you've referred to. None of the carbon pricing funding goes towards revenue for the government. And in fact, the people that you seem to be genuinely concerned about are the very families who are left best off as a result of the policy, including according to the same parliamentary budget officer that you've referenced.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thank you, Dr. Lewis. I just received a message from Interpretation that they will not be able to provide interpretation if we have a talkover. So I would just ask all members asking questions. I know we're trying to get as many questions in as we can, but it's very difficult for them to be able to do their jobs if we are over-talking each other.